Good afternoon, everybody. Dr. Hanna here, coming at you from the one and only Med City here in Rochester, Minnesota. Great to be here. Super happy to be just taking a moment to breathe and pause. Life as a private practice therapist in January. We're going to talk a lot about that, but comes with some unique features. And I've got a free hour that came unexpectedly. So, what better way to spend it than to jump on here and to talk about burnout, pressure, emotional whiplash, something that I think we all universally, to a degree, experience in January. And there's a few secrets that us therapists go through in January, being in practice and working with our people. And before I get to that, I just want to say thanks for taking time to watch this video. Thanks for taking time not to listen to my words as much as seeking out spaces and opportunities and resources for you and for your health. As I always say, you are worth it. And so with that said, guys, a little bit about myself. I am a practice owner, Pacifica Counseling and Psychiatry. I've got 3 amazing office locations. One, I'm in the one and only Rochester, Minnesota. 2 others are in Atlanta and Macon, Georgia. So shout out to all my Georgia family and friends. We love and miss you guys, and just hope y'all are a little bit warmer than what I am up here in Minnesota. But regardless, it's a blessing to be sitting here with you guys today. And, the main purpose of this video is, I do so many things. I have a very full calendar. My calendar is pretty filled from, Monday to Friday, from roughly 8 a.m. Who am I kidding? 6:30, 7 a.m. I've got 3 young kids, to roughly, 8:30, 9:30 p.m. back to back at work with clients, supervising my team, working alongside my team, helping them with marketing endeavors. I also I'm an assistant professor on the side too. That's a full-time gig, but I'm able to do that virtually. And just what a wonderful space to learn, to share. I identify as a lifelong learner. So when we think about January and we think about being a clinician and going to therapy in January, we're learning. We're all learning together. Every one of us in January, we are bombarded with the new year, new me pressure. As I mentioned, I do a lot of things. I have a full schedule, but I'm never busy, right? I'm very rarely busy. I find a lot of fulfillment in the things that I get to do. And one of the things that I get to do, in addition to my clinical work, is I love running, and am training for my first marathon this year, which I'm very excited about. I've ran some half marathons before and grew up doing 5Ks with family. So I've got some fond memories of that, and learning to run on snow and ice is its own kind of therapeutic metaphor. And so I'm excited as I enter into January, thinking about not new year, new me. It's the new year, same me. And I'm going to challenge myself to not fall prey to that idea that a complete renovation is necessary. And that's one of my first, secrets about being a therapist in January, is that we are sitting with so many emotionally dense experiences of people coming in believing that they need a whole, makeover, kind of like the Home Edition. If you guys ever used to watch that show on HGTV, I believe, whole home makeover. No, we don't need a whole makeover, whole renovation. Let's just be thoughtful of examining what areas in life need more fulfillment. In order to be fulfilled, at times we have to cut back a little bit. We have to cut back on the areas that are taking too much time. Some things we can, some things we can't. I remember being in my PhD. At the time, I had 2 kiddos. I was working towards full licensure. I was about to open the practice. I was trying to finish my dissertation. Life was so busy. I didn't have a lot of time free in which I could cut off things. Like, I was working towards a bigger goal. But there was a light at the end of the tunnel. And so if that's you starting in January, if you have busy calendar, not a full calendar, let's be thoughtful of learning to tolerate the distress for future hopes of living in the fulfillment. I hope that space is not one you have to sit in long. I hope that the busy things you have to do right now are leading you to a fulfilling ground, to a fulfilling territory like school, perhaps a project, perhaps you're working on some home stuff or investing in some kind of job for traveling because that's what's fulfilling for you. A lot of people start therapy with a sense of urgency, and we see that a lot in January, that clients are coming in with that desire, like I said, to have kind of this new year, new me pressure, total ultimatums, and it can be quite intense. And what we like to do is to take a deep breath and try to slow down a little bit. That I'm a go-getter. I am caffeinated the majority of the time. I am naturally very excited and eager and energized. I grew up playing sports and have always been on the move, on the go. And that can be helpful. That can also be counterproductive. And so what we do together in the therapy room is we try to have a space. We try to have a relationship in which we can slow down, because as therapists, we can feel the pressure to be better too, to be better than we were, to be greater than we once were, to be more productive, to grow our caseloads more, owning a group practice. I work with so many amazing, diverse clinicians that all have unique strengths and unique ways of being. And at times we can compare ourselves to one another in unhealthy ways, and imposter syndrome can spike. We also tend to absorb like these cultural messages, similar to what like our clients do, that we're holding everybody else's emotions without maintaining our own. And so one thing I like to educate my supervisees, one things I like to talk about in my relationship with my clients, and heck, in my own personal time too, when I'm out here running and have a little bit of time for myself, is that there's no need to have to experience consistent distress. That if I'm striving for goals that are distressing me, I need to like recalculate a little bit. Our goals should be challenging. They should challenge us to be better, to grow more, but they should also really excite us. And I was, on a run yesterday. I started the new year off doing a longer run than I usually do, which is good because I've got my first marathon coming up in May here. So got to start logging in a few extra miles. But I was thinking on the run, what a beautiful opportunity to challenge myself to run on ice. I'm slipping and sliding. I feel like, the world's worst penguin, out here as a Southerner running on, ice and snow is very different. And I was not about to run, a half marathon on a treadmill. So I'm going to try to get some miles in when I can outside. And it was challenging and it was late and I was tired, but I was also so excited and so thankful and so grateful to be able to move my body and to be one with nature, and to be cold and to have that experience, and to know that I have the ability to do so. So the things that may excite you will not be the same things that excite me, but I encourage you, one, as a therapist, but also as a therapist who works a lot in January, to not absorb those cultural messages that you have to be all things for others and nothing for yourself. That the only way we can fill others' cups is if we are making stays pretty filled, and that ours stays in it stays filled to a healthy limit, I should say. Another point about being a therapist in January, burnout doesn't automatically reset on January 1. I do like the idea, and try to live by it yesterday, of a blank slate, of starting the new year off intentionally, fiercely, strongly, empathetically, kindly. And it doesn't wipe away whatever 2025 has given you. It can offer you a new chapter to like thrust yourself into. But if 2025 was a year of chaos and calamity, if it was one of pain in the transition, it's okay to still feel some of those after effects lingering. You're not less than because you're still being impacted by that. January, unfortunately, doesn't fix burnout. It often exposes it because we are entering into a new year expecting to meet metrics that were once really unattainable based on our lifestyle, based on our situation in 2025. So this kind of goes back to my point earlier that make sure your goals, your plan, your routine, make sure you have things that excite you in it rather than distress you. Building off of that more, I think a lot about relationships. I'm an attachment oriented therapist, which means I care a lot about your relationships. I care a lot about how you were raised. I want to understand what your experience was like as a child. What were the main feelings? What needs were met? What needs were not met? Are we able to even remember parts of our childhood, or does it seem to feel more like a wall we're staring at, or kind of a gray picture? Whatever your experience is, January, working as a therapist, we noticed that attachment dynamics tend to get louder. What I mean by that is that we find ourselves kind of testing consistency post holidays. I've had people reach out that have been kind of MIA for a few months and are ready to get back into it in the new year. Some people, are afraid of wanting to engage because they don't want to fail, because failure is bad and failure was never accepted in their family. Which, side note, the one and only creator of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, has a wonderful message of failure, normalizing it. She has this in a podcast that she spoke about, but she grew up in a family that around the dinner table, one of her parents asked every night, "How did you fail today?" And asked with a smile on his face, a smile on their face as they scooped potatoes and, spaghetti or whatever the meal was. And it just normalized that failing and making mistakes is what it means to be beautifully human. And the opportunity to learn from those is super great. So in the best way, I hope you fail. I hope you fail in some ways this year. I know I will fail in some ways this year, but my goal is to be intentional on all that I do so that those opportunities in which I fail in, I can most ultimately grow through, and I can create some wonderful fulfillment and achievement in those spaces rather than having it be perfect from day one. And so what does this mean to, therapy specifically? That when we're in a relational dynamic together and you're in my therapy office and we're getting to know each other and you're sitting on my couch back there and you got a cup of tea or a cup of coffee that we prepared for you because we know your coffee order here, is that it's normal to feel challenged starting off, that showing up is half the battle, that the attachment and the relationship that we cultivate in the therapy office will be the groundwork for building healthy relationships out of here. If you already have several healthy relationships outside of the therapy space, then our space together can be one in which we enhance things that are already quality, because we are not only here as therapists during crisis, but we're here to support you to achieve, to enhance your life, to add to your well-being. And that's something that I like to educate the market on a lot. And one of the best kept secrets of being a therapist in January is, hey, come one, come all. That we're a space for, if 2025 was chaotic and was filled with calamity, like I mentioned, or if it was actually a year of wonderful growth and you're wanting to add to that, that therapy is a space for that. And we work with lots of people as well who want to start therapy in January to keep adding to their life. And this isn't a space for that. I actually really recommend that. Of course, I'm biased as a therapist, but it's one that regardless, I think is important, that January is a time to be consistent on your emotional presence, and therapy is a great space to explore that idea of emotional permanence, that consistency, that rain or shine or snow here in Rochester, that we're going to be here for you, and that we're excited and we're willing and we're going to be patiently supporting you here. Another idea about being a therapist in January is that you're allowed to start slowly. You don't need to hit the ground running, kind of, how I did in January. I'm sore today because of it. I will not be hitting the ground running today. but you're allowed to create whatever your grounding is. For myself, grounding is in movement. And whenever I can have my feet on the ground, moving forward, carrying my body at my kind of pace, right, that gives me this vision of starting and being stable. And we focus a lot on stability rather than intensity. That consistency is so much more important in our routine building and preparation than perfection is. We're not wanting to reinvent the wheel, rather, being a therapist to be sustainable in January and through the rest of the year are ones who pace themselves. And that's something that running has taught me a lot, that your pace matters. If you're training for a long race, if you're running some mid distances, that if you go too fast, too quick, you're going to burn out. Your body's not going to thrive, and you're going to want to end the run quicker than when you started. And so in therapy, we also know the pace of the therapeutic hour and the therapeutic relationship, that you're not going to be, as a therapist in January and starting therapy in January, you will not be bulldozed with questions that feel too much. That a good therapist, not a perfect one, but a quality one, an intentional one, is one who's going to see you, is one who's going to ask and be curious about your life and your past, but one who's also going to give you space to identify where you are. And we're going to meet you where you are, and we're going to humanize, and we're going to relate, and we're going to empathize, and we're going to challenge, and we're going to heal. And that's going to be at your own pace. And that's a benefit you get about being in private practice therapy, is that we get to go at your pace, rather than the pace of the insurance market. So if January is feeling a little bit heavier than you expected, you're not doing it wrong. It just means you're paying attention. And I'm honestly, proud of you for that. Proud of you for paying attention. That it's not feeling super easy. It's not feeling super great. That's okay. We're not feeling chasers here. If anything, we're chasing our truth. We're chasing a healthy narrative. We're chasing healthy attachments. And, in running, we talk a lot about chasing or being chased. And, there's certain seasons in which you may be being chased, meaning you're leading the pack. You're at the front. You're feeling good. If that's you going into 2025, did it again. If that's you going into 2026, good for you. I know it probably took a lot of work and intention to get there. My encouragement for those of you who are being chased, who are leaders in the pack, who are PRing right now, don't look over your shoulder. That's a common race idea, is that if you look over your shoulder, it shows the person behind you that you're worried about them, and that you're afraid of them, and that you're threatened about them. You can be thoughtful of what's behind you, and the people behind you representing past experiences, past failures, past mistakes, past ways of living that were ineffective or unhealthy or traumatic for you, experiences that were. So be thoughtful of reflecting on that without totally turning your head and being caught by that, but rather maintain a good, solid pace. Keep building that momentum. Keep working on that foot turnover that you've already been doing. And for those of you that may be more back of the pack runners, y'all are my kind of people. I'm with you there. Ones that are focusing on chasing someone, meaning you're still working to that ideal version of you. You're still trying to get there. You're still building up momentum. You're still learning how to even do that. You're taking a few more water breaks than you'd like, and you're walking and hitting the pause button. Heck yeah, why not? Your pace doesn't have to be perfection. It just has to be consistent. And my encouragement to you guys is to take some deep breaths and to recognize that your pace, the only thing we care about is sustainability. And in order to sustain a quality pace means that we need support, we need encouragement, we need to refuel, we need to fuel up, and we need lots of intentionality. And so wherever you are this year, wherever you are in January 2nd of 2026, let's both be intentional this year. Let's be intentional on our goals, on our health, on our wellness. And therapy, Like I said, some things they don't tell you about being a therapist in January is that we're open to any and all experiences because we're also going through them as therapists too, and you will not be alone. And so, my good people, be well, be safe, be fierce, be intentional, and be sustainable. And I'll see you soon.